Hello, everyone. It's me, Andrew. I'm here at Star Cottage Studio, and I'm super excited to be here today with all of you. We had some rare traffic in lovely Ligonier, which is where I live and which is where Allegory Gallery is. So it took me a hot minute to get here, a little bit longer than I thought it would. So here I am. I think I got some schmutz on my face from adding some pellets to the pellet stove. It was actually a really beautiful, warm, lovely day here in Ligonier. I'm getting that ready so that later tonight when I'm working, it will still be nice and warm. So, how are you all doing? Hopefully, you all had a great start to your week so far. Say hello if you're out there and where you're tuning in from. It's always lovely to see where you all are. So, if you didn't get a chance, we were on the weekend. We had the Great Beat Extravaganza, and then we had yesterday. I hung out a little bit with William and I did a tutorial on the Lovebirds necklace, which the kit is still available in the online store. I don't know if it's sold out yet, but we released that last night, which I think is pretty cool. If you all like those kits, let us know. Those kits include kind of all the fixins. Usually we kind of just do kits that have the beads, and then you kind of have to use your own materials to kind of supplement those, like your own findings and stuff. But this one, we included everything you need except for the tools. The tools you still need, but everything else is included. And then after that, then Cynthia and I hung out and I worked on an ocean jasper necklace, and she worked on some sketches for a collaborative kit that we're working on. And then what else did we do? We showed off some of the things that we've been working on behind the scenes. She showed some of her little paintings and a little root baby sculpture, all kinds of goodies. All right, let's see who's tuned in. I see a couple comments coming through. Brooke is on. She's tuning in from Detroit. Marianne is watching. Hey, Marianne. Lorraine is watching. Susan's watching. Lorene is watching from Wisconsin. Hey, Robin in Tempe, Arizona. Cindy is watching. Cindy's from near my hometown in Florida. Susan, she liked watching Cynthia drawing last night. And it's good to hear that kind of feedback because we're thinking of doing kind of these informal conversations, these kind of hangout situations where we go on Zoom and just bank stuff and kind of reminisce and talk about what we're doing. And, I liked it. Hopefully, you all liked it as well. If you didn't get a chance to see it, it is available in the Great Beat Extravaganza. It's called the After Party because we were going to do it right after Christy finished up. But both Cynthia and I were thunderstruck tired. So we decided to not do it while we're like, but then again, I got my second wind and then stayed up all night long making stuff. So it would have been fine. Susan is getting ready for a lot of rain. Hopefully that y'all can handle it. I know that in New Orleans it gets a little bit tricky sometimes, which is where she's from. Susan says, actually having a bit of sun here today, 67. Susan's my neighbor, so we also are having 67-degree weather. It was beautiful today. I wanted to get out and do some gardening because I haven't had a chance to clean up the garden because whenever I have a chance, it's either snowing or raining. And it's kind of good, I guess. I waited to do the cleanup because we had some really terrible snow the other day. And so I guess that those extra carcasses of weeds were able to protect and shield some of the little fledgling tulips and stuff that are coming up. Donna is watching. Hey, Donna. June is watching. Hello, June. Thanks for tuning in. Teresa is on the is tuning in and has announced our latest count. We're at 930 subscribers on YouTube. If you haven't had a chance, I encourage you, I implore you, I beseech you, please, 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 if you have it in your heart, please subscribe to our Allegory Gallery YouTube page or channel. You can tell that I'm relatively new to the YouTube. Anyways, if you have it within you, please subscribe. We're trying to reach our 1,000 subscriber mark, and we're getting so close. We're so close. We only need 70 more people, and then we'll be winners, I guess. I don't know. You don't really get a prize, but it does do stuff behind the scenes, so that's awesome. And we're getting really close to that, and I'm super excited. And we have started developing content for that. And we're going to be filming and shooting all that in the next coming few weeks coming up. So I'm super excited about that. I hope you all are excited about that as well. Let's see. Barbara is on Facebook. Still haven't ponied up on YouTube, but I'm on Patreon. Thank you for your support on Patreon. If you didn't know, we have a Patreon account. Let me see if I can find that for Star Cottage Studio. And let me see if I can find that here. In theory, I have a little banner that says that. Here it is. We do content on there, and we kind of document the progress or lack of progress, as it's been most of this winter at Star Cottage Studio. And I have an update scheduled that's going to be going out tonight, I think. And it's about our driveway. Exciting things about the driveway. It's actually not that exciting. It's basically that it's a mud hole and we have to put gravel in it. So, because we almost got stuck in there. I actually did get stuck in the driveway the other day. So that's going to probably be one of our immediate projects that we have to do. And we also did some painting, and we're setting up the online store section for Allegory Gallery. We're moving that out of the current location at the shop, and we're moving it here to Star Cottage Studio. So it should make it a little bit easier for them to do the packing, and it will also open up classroom space at Allegory Gallery, which is good. You know, I don't know what to say about that. Besides that, it's going to be a big project coming up with the next couple weeks. And we've been working on getting the space ready here at the cottage. And I've been painting. And I think what we're going to do next here is we're going to seal the concrete floor so that there isn't any moisture, residual moisture that comes through the concrete, because concrete is porous and it can kind of, you know, act like a sponge sometimes. So we're going to at least seal the top. And then we're going to finish painting, and maybe tonight, if I have it in me, we'll put shelves up, and then we can start organizing the new pewter line that we recently acquired. If you don't know anything about that, we recently acquired a full line of over 100 designs in pewter in all different finishes and platings. And we also got the molds for those. So we will be entering the manufacturing realm pretty soon here. So that's pretty exciting. It's a big project. A big project. It's a big project. So we're excited about that. If you check out our website, which is allegorygallery.com, let me pull that up real quick. We have the whole or most of them, and then also you see the pictures now, but we're going to be adding more pictures as time goes on. so that you get little alternative views and little close-ups and different things like that. But we wanted to have them ready for the Great Beat Extravaganza, which happened this past weekend. So we wanted to make sure that they were online and ready to go, so that folks could take advantage of that. We do have a sale going on right now on the Allegory Gallery website. That's the coupon code is TGBE, and you can save 20% off. That coupon is good till Friday at midnight Eastern time. So if you want to save some, please do. I can't stress this enough. Please, please, please go ahead and grab those pewter components now, because the prices of those will go up. It's not a question of if they will go up, they will go up. And the reason why is we bought them from somebody who had previously manufactured them, okay? So those were already made. And then they made those before the pandemic and had those packed away. And we're getting them after the pandemic, and all the prices of metal have gone up. And in some cases, it's tripled. So, you know, we're going to keep our prices as low as possible, but the prices that are set now are the prices that they were set on before pandemic prices. Before pandemic prices. So since it's still kind of pandemic time. So anyway, but the prices will go up when we start manufacturing them again. So get them now, get them on sale, because the prices will go up. And I'm not trying to scare you into buying more stuff. I'm just being real with y'all, because, you know, I want you to save. And also I want to sell these so that we can go into manufacturing, because we need money to start manufacturing them. And it's kind of expensive to get all that stuff going. Luckily, we have all the molds, so we don't have to do molding fees and do all that. We have production molds, so we don't have to pay for those to be made. So luckily, that's awesome. All right, let me scooch back over to the comments. June says, had fun watching you both last night. Oh, good. I'm glad you liked it. Terry's tuning in from YouTube and said, hello, Andrew. Hello, Terry. Terry was watching with us last night. Sandra is tuning in. Hello, hello. Terry said, the weeds and ground cover also help protect the pollinators and other assorted critters until it warms up sufficiently. This is true. One of the things that we need to do at the cottage, and we have to do it pretty soon, is put mulch around in the flower beds. And you may be like, what? That seems low on the totem pole. Don't you think a bathroom's more important? And that is important. However, we're in the woods. And so if you have had a building in the woods, then you know that if you have areas or habitats for critters, that will attract those critters inside. And so we had some weed problems over this past summer, which I try to keep on top of. And we redid all of the flower beds. But already they're getting a little bit overgrown, and not with just the daffodils that we planted. So I'm going to need to mulch the flower beds so that they stay as bushy as possible. So then we don't have any little friends sneaking inside saying, hey, it's nice in here. They have art supplies and maybe snacks, which we don't really keep snacks here because I don't want any more critter friends. All right. Fran is tuning in. Hello, Fran. Donna is tuning in. Donna said that it looks like 80 degrees today. That sounds getting warm there. Barbara says, good vibes. Y'all be crushing. We're trying really, really hard to keep pushing. We're kind of in that phase where I feel like things are gelling and they're starting to kind of solidify so that they form the foundation of all of our future projects that we want to launch. which we are working really, really hard. I just finished up some survey interviews for a project that we're working on in Johnstown. Um, and it's actually, they have a camera crew that's going to be following us around. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this, but so y'all will be the first and maybe only people to know so far, but they're going to have a camera crew document the process of us kind of doing things in Johnstown. So keep an eye out for all that, but I doubt that that will come out until pretty far off into the future because we haven't done anything on this. So the pop-up show will probably happen sometime this summer, and we're going to try to do something where we incorporate a lot of our extended family of artisans. So hopefully we will make a space for artisans to show their work in Johnstown, which I think is a really cool opportunity. And I want to do that as much as possible. I want to support my fellow peeps. It hasn't been an easy time for us and our business. So I want to help others and hopefully make it easier for them if they are, trying to bounce back from the pandemic. I know a lot of people, they are thinking, like a lot of people are like mask free and enjoying life, which is cool. But you know what? It's going to take time for us to recover from all of this. And I know some people are like, no, 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 but I look at the numbers, I can see the numbers, and I know what goes into those numbers. So hopefully we will all have a good time, manifesting a better future for all of us. All right. Donna says, I ordered more of those pewter pieces yesterday. Thank you so much. And also, I wanted to mention this. You can use the coupon code TGBE multiple times. And our shipper is currently on vacation. So when she gets back, she's going to start packing all the order. But also, we wanted to hold off on packing the orders because sometimes people will place multiple orders and we want to save you money on shipping. So if you order anything and you say order 10 orders, we'll refund all of the shipping that we can. So we weigh everything out, put everything in the cheapest way that it will go, and then send it that way. I got something in the mail the other day and it was like this big, and the shipping on it was like $14, and I was all like thunderstruck because it was this big. It wasn't like this big, it was like this big, and it was $14, and I was all like, what? So that's just, in my mind, that's a little bit wasteful. It's just like, it doesn't have to be that way. So it, because for one, it costs more to do it, and then number two, they give away free boxes at the post office. So anyways, I'm not going to go there. But I will say that we try our best to keep the shipping as low as possible because we'd rather you spend money on beads instead of shipping. All right. Sharon's tuning in. Hey, Sharon. Julie says that she appreciates that. I appreciate it. So hopefully, yeah. And then Liz says, under tornado watch in Austin. Sorry to hear that, Liz. Hopefully you all are stay safe. We saw the news not too long ago that there was a pretty bad tornado that went through there. Our friend Jill lives there, and it passed pretty close to her warehouse. And that's super scary. So, as Sharon said, stay safe. And Donna said that it's getting humid where she is in Alabama, I believe. Marianne says 21 here in Edmonton. Burr. Is it 21 Fahrenheit or Celsius? Because I would pretend like I can do those conversions, but I can't actually do them. So, yeah. William says, shooting for the stars at Allegory Gallery. Yeah, we're trying. We're moving and shaking and doing our best to manifest a better time for all of us. And Barbara says, also, y'all be tired. I'm tired, but I'm also empowered and inspired. And I think that that's one of those things, like, sometimes when I get super exhausted and I'm just like run ragged to the point where I can't go anymore, like my body slows down, but my mind still keeps going. And so that's one of the reasons why I think it's so important to have what's called an idea book. I have one. I carry it around with me. My current idea book is Jumbotron size, so it's big. I don't know how to put this in the camera, but it's big. So that's less than ideal for portability, but it is a good thing when I need bigger space to kind of map out my thoughts. But idea books or sketchbooks or journals or whatever are super great places as repository ideas. So kind of cultivating your creativity, and especially if you are a creative entrepreneur, I think it's so important to document things, and especially those thoughts, because if you don't capture those when you have them, when it comes time to brainstorm and come up with those ideas, all you have to do is open your book and you've already done half the work, you know? So sometimes when people are like, oh, what are we going to do now for our business? And then you're like, scratching your chin, wondering. And then you don't know. And then a lot of this time is this and then so instead you just open your book and say, well, I worked on these sketches, what do you think about this? And then it kind of gets the ball rolling a little bit easier, a little bit quicker, and you can make things happen a little bit faster. So I encourage you, get those idea books. Even if you're tired, you can still be working on things even if it doesn't look like work. Does that make sense? I hope it does, because it works for me. Hopefully, it will work for all of you. Donna says, thank you for letting us use that coupon code more than once. Y'all are great about combining shipping too. It does make our shipping go out a little bit slower. But again, I would rather people have more money to spend on beads or findings or whatever than on, multiple shipping charges. I know back in the day, a long time ago, in the early days of eBay, people will be like, well, charge low and then jack up your shipping, and then you'll make money on top of all your orders with the shipping as well. And you kind of have to do a little bit of that because, you have to pay for your packing. And if you have help packing like we do, then you have to cover their pay. But we try our best to keep the shipping as low as possible, just so that, it will help. Eventually, we'll get to the point when we can offer more off of shipping. We do have a program going. I don't know if William talked about it or if it's still active, but if you spend over a certain amount, you do get free shipping. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Cindy says, you guys are very generous. Well, thank you. Donna says, yes, Central Alabama. I try to remember things. I've gotten worse at it, but, it is what it is. Barbara says, hey, I'm going in and saying to go on YouTube or Patreon. So I'm guessing Barbara's going to go and sign up for our YouTube. So thank you. Marianne says Fahrenheit. So that is chilly. That's below freezing, y'all. That's not ideal for me. I like it not to be too hot because I've lived up in the north long enough that I am now weak when it comes to dealing with heat. In Florida, when it was like over 100 degrees, I was like, whatever. Now, if it's like over a certain temperature, I'm all like, I'm like, where's my ice pack? Cool me, William, cool me. And he's like, he's also melting into a puddle. Michelle's watching. Hey, Michelle. And Marianne says that in Celsius it's -6. Holy guacamole. So yeah. All right. I think I'm pretty much caught up on comments. So yes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this around and we'll get started. Otherwise, I'll talk all day and night long. And we have a meeting at some point this evening. So I can't run too late because I have to attend that meeting. We're doing more planning for the Great Beat Extravaganza. And we're doing our kind of post-event briefing because we're trying to make it super successful. So a part of that is kind of analyzing the metrics and establishing what we can do and do better. I think that's something that's really important, talking about the good things and the bad things. So far, I think this past weekend went pretty well, and hopefully you all got a chance to check out our presentation. Yesterday, we went over what we did during the GBE, which is a great beat extravaganza. So I'm not going to do that again. Yeah, I'm super excited about that. And then we also just recently, I think it was April 4th or 5th, that we had our takeover day, and we had 24 hours of programming. So we were on all 24 hours. We did posts every hour on the hour. And we did several live events throughout that day. So if you want to see all that content, that's all in the Great Beat Extravaganza group. Now I'm going to say it again. It's in the group. Now there's the group and there's the page. There's the group and then there's the page. There's the group, then there's the page. They're similar but different. So the group is kind of like where we post kind of like all the presenters. That's where we started. Because when we started the Great Beat Extravaganza, we thought it was going to be a one-time thing, and it's turned into something that we do multiple times a year and want to do for keep going. We want to keep that momentum going, and we want to keep having events. And we have reached almost 11,000 people in the Facebook group, which I think is crazy, like wild. I'm trying not to say crazy anymore, because I read somewhere that people get offended by that, and I'm trying not to offend anybody if I can. So things are getting wild. I think that's wild and wonderful. Wild and wonderful. So yeah. So we're on the group. That's kind of where we started. And that's kind of a little bit more informal. And that's where we post different sales and our lives and different things. And then the page is kind of like the business. So it's like, hey, y'all, check out these are the important calendar dates. These are the important presentations. This is all the kind of information. And I love the page. At first I was like, I don't know if we need both, but you know what? I'm a convert. I believe in it because I got to park on the couch and blow it up on the big screen, and I have to play Seek and Find. It made it so easy. I just had to refresh every once in a while, and the videos would pop up, and I could stream them on my TV. And I thought that was just the bee's knees. I was just smitten kitten with that style. So that is really, really, really good that we've done that. And I hope you all will go on over to the Great Beat Extravaganza page and make sure to like/follow that if you haven't already. And make sure to turn your notifications on. I saw a couple of folks over the weekend say, "Oh, I didn't know that it started." And you know what? If you turn your notifications on, you'll know when everything goes on, because you'll get a little ping and it will tell you when stuff's on. So yeah. All right, Deborah's tuning in. Hello, Deborah. Barbara says that she's a Patreon subscriber and she pays $3 a month because it's worth listening to what this is. Well, I appreciate that. And sometimes people think, they're like, oh, $3, what does that do? But then $3 plus somebody else's $3, it adds up. And it's allowed us, like most recently, we got some light bulbs for the cottage. In the other room, we switched to all LED light bulbs, and we were able to get a bulk buy on these LED light bulbs, and the Patreon money covered it. So that's super good when you can have an idea in action, which I think is really important. It's an easy thing to say this directly correlated to this. Your support equals this, and that's what we did with it this past time. All right, Deborah says I enjoyed watching you on the TGBE and was glad I found that. Oh, good, good. I'm glad that you're tuned in and watching today too. Terry says your takeover day was amazing. Well, hopefully it will just get better and better every time we do them. The first was a little bit rocky because we were like, we're gonna do lives every hour on the hour, and I was thunderstruck. Like it was like somebody got a stick and whooped me a lot. But it was still fun, and we still got to hang out and make stuff. I was like, let's do this sculpture in the garage in the freezing cold weather. It was not a good idea. I'm just going to tell you that was a less than awesome idea. And then I was freezing and shivering, and I was like, okay, let's go back inside where there's heat. So yeah, Joyce says it's evolving and I love it. Yeah, we're working on new ideas and programming for the Rate Beat Extravaganza. One of the things that we've recently started doing is the trend reports. If you did not know this, the TGBE is made up of 14 different companies, and all of those companies, they do their own research. So there's this thing called social media listening and social media monitoring, and they're slightly different. Social media listening is kind of when you ask a question, it's like, what's your favorite color? And then you engage with your customers and your demographics so that you can learn what their needs are so that you can better serve those needs. I think that's super important. Social media monitoring is a little bit different, where you look at the back end of things and kind of observe the analytics. So you look at which posts have the most reach, the ones that get shared the most, the ones that get the most interaction, and then you kind of understand and kind of distill and kind of extrapolate this information and kind of figure out what folks are interested in and kind of do things like that. Now, if you did not know this, I'm going to let you know secret if you didn't know this. Jill McKay used to do this professionally. So she worked for different magazines and different bead companies to create trend reports for them. And I did as well, but in a not in a as big of a way as she did. So sometimes I would do things and like come up with different lists and then send them to the editor, various different magazines, and we'd kind of talk about different things that they could do for the upcoming year, because they plan out a lot of their issues, or they used to, because there's not very many magazines anymore. They would plan out their issues like a year in advance. So trend reporting is a little bit like prognostication, where you're kind of trying to figure out what's going to happen next. And so we have all these people with all this experience in the bead world. And some of us have been in the bead world 20 years, 30 years. Some of us are newer, but there's a lot of people with a lot of experience in the group. And so since we've kind of reached a point where what we're doing logistically with the events, like we've done them enough, now we can kind of start branching out and thinking about how we can use our collective powers for the benefit and goodness of the bead world. Because I hate to say this, but the bead world is a little bit in danger in some regards. Um, there's a lot of shops that have been closed because they've, not only because of the pandemic, but before the pandemic, a lot of the local bead stores were closing before the pandemic, and the pandemic didn't help. A lot of my friends who have bead stores ended up having to close their bead stores, um, because it was really hard, and after a while sometimes it's hard to pivot your business, especially if you've been doing it a certain way for a long time. So without those kind of bead stores, those local bead stores, um, it makes it really hard to train people who are passionate and then excited about uh, making jewelry. There is the online component of it, and people do get inspired and engaged online. But that's it's not a new thing because there were blogs and stuff before, but it is something that we're kind of having to lean into because of the way things are. So, yes, we're doing a lot of cool things, and we're talking about growing it even more in different ways. And hopefully, we can keep this up and have it going for a long time. If people aren't interested in it and the numbers drop off, and nobody's watching or nobody's supporting the businesses, then we would have to probably end it. Which I hate to say that, but it is a reality. So yeah. Um, Amanda says, "Are all the GBE presentations on the GBE YouTube?" I don't know that, but I can check tonight, and I can also um, check to make sure that it kind of happens in the future. The GBE YouTube is we locked it down fairly early, but we didn't really add too much content to it because we were still trying to figure out all of the Facebook side of the stuff. Um, so some of the people do, and some of the people don't. We're still working on that, and I'll have to get back to you about that because I don't want to say yeah, or no, and then yeah, So I'll have to find out. Diane says, "Good afternoon." Howdy, Diane. Sandra says, "Facebook notifications have not been working properly lately." I've noticed that too. I also do there are certain people that I like to see their posts, so I favorite them and I make sure that they appear in my feed at the top, and that's been a little glitchy, but that's something that's not within our control. So we kind of have to, hopefully they'll fix it and make it so that the notifications work again. But until then, we kind of just have to bear with it. Terry says, "We need to get an update on her. By the way, she is a huge project, the garage project." So the update is nothing has happened. I feel like we do a scarecrow every 2 years. I was trying to get it done this year for the competition, and that did not work out because we got extremely busy, and there was just no way to do it. But hopefully in the fall when they have the competition again, if you don't know what we're talking about, our town, Ligonier, does an annual scarecrow contest, and we sometimes apply. We never win, but it's always nice to participate because it's always fun to see what people will make. Our current scarecrow is on our porch, Cornelius Pepperpot, and will probably be on our porch until he falls apart. So, and it's been a couple years now at this point, so who knows? Donna says, "I've learned so much through the GBE." Well, good. I'm glad that people are learning and enjoying it because it's not guaranteed. I hate to say that, and I hate to say I hate things, but it's true. Nothing is guaranteed. And so if you like those certain things, you do have to show up and support those companies, definitely financially. But if you can't do that financially, liking and sharing their posts is a good way to do that. And is a free thing that you can do as an advocate for something that you love and care about. It's kind of like PBS. If you like those shows, if you like that content, you have to show up and support it somehow, whether you're answering phones or whatever, writing that check every month. Those are very dated references. I was talking to somebody about my checkbook at one of the events recently, and the kid was like, I was like, it's like Venmo, but on paper. And then we're like, oh. Cynthia's like, what are you making at the cottage today? Yeah, I'm gonna make some earrings eventually. Eventually, I'll make some earrings. And hopefully you all as well will make these as also. Cynthia says, I used to make trend predictions for the limited company in my early days. Cynthia, if you didn't know this, you used to work for the Wexler company, and they did the limited and Bath and Body Works and all kinds of stuff like that. So it's kind of cool, like when you think about all these different things. Like, if you didn't know this, Cynthia, here's a little secret sauce to go with your live today. She did hand puppets for Babe in the City and Dragonheart and a couple of the movies back then. They used to have those little hand puppets, and so she sculpted those. So you could have been at the what would have been the Kmart back then and found those hand puppets. You could have been working with her work back then, working with her work, playing with her hand puppets that she made. William's here.
Hello.
He's like,
how's your project going?
Really good, really good. I'm gearing up for it. I'm like psyching myself up. I watch these motivational things sometimes because I like to be motivated, especially with our business. Sometimes, and I kind of also, this is another side project that I've been thinking of because apparently I don't have enough to do. But one of the things I've been thinking about is having a creative entrepreneur kind of just like a group. And it's a place where we can just share our ideas and things we're working on and things that we find helpful. There's a couple places that do that now, but they're all super monetized. And I know that people who need to make a living, especially as a creative entrepreneur, but I also think a lot of this information is already out there. It's not a question about the information, it's about the question of delivery and also the kind of psychology behind it, and the empowerment that goes behind it. So if we can be a community together, we can all rise together and support one another. So that's a little back burner project that we're kind of working on in the backs of our brains, and hopefully that will become real. If you are interested in that, let us know in the comments. Maybe hit that like sign or that heart sign, and we'll maybe do it. Maybe, and not just for big people, because a lot of times there are private groups for a lot of the major retailers. Those already exist, but like, what if you what if you do like craft shows every couple times a year, and you're not like, raking in $1 million? And so what if you need that encouragement, but you're not like at the level that say like Kendra Scott is, but they all have accountability partners. So anyways, Michelle says, watching on the YouTube replay. This is not replay. This is live, yo. Sandy Weiss says, yes, many stores in Southern California closed even before the pandemic, which is true. Michelle says, yes, many in Los Angeles closed. Let's see. Let's see. I see a lot of different comments, and I would reply to everyone, but eventually we needed to make the earrings. Otherwise, I'm gonna be really late for that meeting. Sandy says the TGBE is a great concept. Like it because you can go back and watch the replays. Yeah, I think all of our content creators have been super generous in allowing that to happen. Sometimes you can attend these symposiums and online and virtual events, and you only have XYZ amount of time to do it. And logistically, it makes sense. Sometimes you have to pay for storage on, say, Vimeo. So, yeah. So sometimes there is a logistical reason why you don't have access to stuff forever. But luckily, we figured out a way, at least currently, that we can have it so that people can take advantage of it and it doesn't cost the presenters a bunch of money on the back end to support that. Donna said that she used to work for the Limited back in the day. Cindy says that she used to shop at the Limited. Facebook says, "Hi, William. My name's Andrew, but William's back there." Oh, you all were saying hi to him. I'm catching up in the comments. Oh, never mind. I understand now. I understand the assignment. Amanda's like, "How's the project going?" It's getting there. One of these days, I'm gonna land the plane. All right, I just scrolled up to the bottom. If I missed one of your comments, sorry, but let's land this plane and get that project going because I feel the people, their eyes are collectively getting narrower and narrower with the sleep time. They're getting bored of the talk. So let's do this thing. All right. Who's ready? I'm going to turn the camera. If you're motion sickness, take a Dramamine or close your eyes. All right. This is one thing that I'm not wild about for the StreamYard, which is what we use. In theory, I could set it up with multiple cameras, and that could be cool, but we're working up to that. Whoops. All right. So let's lock this in place. Let me change the banner to our website. And here we go. So over the during last night, we released this special mix. This mix is called Prayers for Ukraine. With the current events, there's a lot of issues going on right now in the world, and we want to do our part by helping out. So the proceeds from the sales of these mixes will go towards the World Central Kitchen, which is a project that helps feed people in areas of conflict. And right now they're on the ground and feeding people. A lot of times when folks think about helping out, it's sometimes in a way that is a one and done kind of way. And I get it, not you give a little bit and then you're like, okay, done. But people are hungry every day. And when there are nowadays, if you're going to the grocery store, some of your favorite things may not be on the shelves because of supply chain issues. Well, have no supply chains, so hardly any supply chains. So a lot of people are experiencing hunger and they're not working, so they're not able to have money to go and buy food. So this is an important thing, and we feel strongly about helping where we can. So if you go to our website, that's allegorygallery.com, you can get this mix, and all of the money that we raise from this will go towards that. And I'm going to try to do it in a way that there's a couple different larger companies out there like TripAdvisor who match funds. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to go through TripAdvisor and get that matching funding so that your contribution will be doubled. I'm not 100% sure if we'll be able to get it when they're doing it, but currently that's something that they're offering. If you go to their Instagram, in their Instagram, at the top of their TripAdvisor bio, there's a link, and you can click on that. And then there's a link within that link about how you can double your impact through TripAdvisor. So if you are not interested in getting a mix but still want to contribute, that's a place that you can do it, and you can double your impact. So hopefully you will consider that. I know that there's been multiple fundraisers on every platform, and we kind of held off doing one right away because we wanted to make sure that money was going towards people that needed the help. There was a lot of people who are unfortunately scamming out there and taking advantage of the situation, which is super unfortunate. And we didn't want to get lost in that. So we're doing this now, and hopefully it will help contribute to making a difference. All right. So we launched that last night on the Allegory Gallery website. And it's made of all the different kinds of vintage seed beads. There's French seed beads, there's Venetian seed beads, and so pretty cool. All right. So for this project, we're going to use these little handy dandy components. These are from our new pewter line, which can also be found at allegorygallery.com. So these are them right here. I don't have a product number for these. Maybe William, if he's watching from the other room, he can give me the product number for these. But these are, I don't even know what they're called. I guess they're called, let me see if it's groovy end connectors, I think is what they're currently listed at. And they are pretty cool because they have holes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 8 holes that can, in theory, you use this for bracelet ends. But you can also, like what we're going to do, is use them for earrings. The other thing that we're going to need is ear wires. And I had ear wires up here. And I don't know where they are now. Where are they? Did I knock them on the floor? Maybe. So there were ear wires up here, and then they've migrated off to live their best lives somewhere. But we can always, you can picture it in your mind. It's just opening and closing. It's not super complicated. You don't need a step-by-step on that one, I don't think. I would love to show you because it's so fast and easy, but it's kind of hiding. So, yeah. All right, let me move these crystals real fast so I don't scatter them all over the floor. And then I'm going to move my beading mat over. We will be using a beading mat today so that our beads don't go everywhere. And yeah, we'll need a beading needle. And let's hear. Whoa. So this is just a piece of that, the beading mat so that it won't go everywhere. I also like to have little lids and different little containers so that when I pour my beads, they have a place to go. Let me grab one real fast. We made this during one of our other Facebook Live events, one of our Live at 5 on Tuesdays. Let me adjust this a little bit lower so we're not super high. So we made this copper bowl, which I think is pretty cool. So I'm going to use that as a container for my sea bead mix. Now, again, this is available on our website. And this has the colors of the Ukrainian flag. Maybe let me raise this up just a smidge. Terry said that bowl turned out amazing. Well, thank you. I think it turned out pretty cool. It's not completely perfect, but that's all right. Now, the other thing that we're going to need is some fireline or your braided bonded thread of your choice. There's also wildfire and some different things like that. I know some people, they prefer to use Nymo because it has a little bit of a silkier kind of drape to it. And that would work perfectly fine. But I do like this to be... I like Fireline because it's a little bit more sturdy, if that makes sense. All right. So we've got this. We're going to move this off. And I've got a cutter that we can use to cut our thread. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a wingspan of thread. That's one arm and one torso thread. And the reason why I do that is because if you have that longer than that, sometimes it can get tangled up. And you don't necessarily want to get tangled up when you're beading. I know some people like super long lengths. They're busting out them 6 foot lengths. But for me, I don't like that because I find that I get tangled more. So I'm listening to a new series. I just finished the latest Mystic Bayou book, which I really love that series. You know, it's not highbrow fiction by any stretch of the imagination, but I started a new one, and the new one that I'm listening to is called White Trash Warlock, and I am just a smitten kitten with it. I generally don't like books that have money problems in it, but I do like this one so far. So I'm excited because there's a couple more in my library that I listen to so I'm going to binge those, and maybe I'll see if I'll make some little fan art for them because the author is a relatively new author. So I always like to show support for authors, especially new ones. Because I know what it's like when you're in a creative entrepreneur and you want to, be successful at what you do. All right. I see a couple questions. Michelle says, "Do you sell your bowls?" No, not yet, because I really haven't set up for making sales for that. But we might, you never know. If people are interested, I saw a couple people say they might want them, but since I'm making them, they get kind of spendy. So there sometimes when people see the price and they're like, "Ooh, never mind." So we'll see. Maybe I'll add some. Terry says if these aren't working, I can stop and I'm on my laptop, so I have a bit more mobility to access links. So I don't know what that means, but it says Michelle says no link. Oh, well, I don't have the link yet. So for these, I'll look for these and we'll see if we'll add them. All right, so I'm going to put this back up and we'll get started. All right, so here's your first little end connector. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up the second hole. So there's 2 holes here at the end. I'm going to skip the first hole and I'm going to go up through the second hole. Now I'm going to pull this down till I get to about, I'm going to leave a tail of about 5 or 6 inches. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go down through the first hole and then pull this so that it's kind of taut down at the bottom. All right. And you want to make sure that it's nice and snug up where that is. The next thing I'm going to do is normally when you're doing this kind of seed beading, you would add a stop bead. But since we are going to do it this way, we don't need to. So what I'm going to do now is I've got this coming out through the bottom like so. If you can see the ends here. And then I'm just going to tie this into a knot. And this is going to make sure that our beadwork is nice and secure and won't fall apart. So I did one tie, and then I'm going to do another tie, and then I'm going to do a square knot just for kicks and giggles. All right, so I did that twice. It's firmly, nicely, tightly done. And then when I do a square knot, you do basically like when you're going to tie your shoes, but instead of going one time, you go another time. And I don't actually know if that does anything, but that's the way I was taught how to do that. So there you go. And you're going to pull tautly so that it's nice and tight so it doesn't come loose. All right. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to go back up the second hole and pull a little bit. And what this does is that knot that's right here, it gets pulled up into this hole. So you don't have a knot kind of dangling in there. So you kind of pull that and the knot gets hidden. Whoa, y'all. Whoa. Then you go down through the first hole. Cool. This is so easy once you get going. All right. So the next thing you do, I have this bowl and then I just dumped everything out, is you'll string up your beads in the way that you are most comfortable with. And I'm just doing a random assortment. I know some folks, they like to have more patterns and they sort stuff out and their brains work like that. My brain does not work like that. I kind of live and thrive off of creative chaos. So I am not going to do that. But if you want to separate them out, you can definitely do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to string up. Oops, I messed up, y'all, but that's all right. We're just going to string those back up. And what it is I'm going to string up one kind of length of my my needle. And that way, so I've got about a length of my needle. And if you know how long your needle is, then you will have the same size every time. And you can kind of go relatively quickly. All right, so we're going to pull this down to the end so that it butts up against the bracelet bar, which we're not using as a bracelet. And then we're going to select a bead for our end here. And so I'm going to select this yellow bead because I have these blue beads. And then I'm going to go back up through the beads that I just strung. All right. And it's easier if you grab this and you kind of use that to kind of guide that in there. And then it will make it super easy to go up through the beads. And then you're going to go up through the top of that bracelet bar. Now, this is why I'm using the fire line, is because it's a sturdier line. If you're working with like a silk or with Nymo or something like that, I would maybe recommend going through several times. But if not, then not, then don't do that. So for this tail, it's kind of sticking out. We can weave this back into our work, which if I was going to do this to have it be super secure, I would do that, and I might do that. But actually, I might go and I might put this back up through here and then tie it off again up here. So we're getting a knot from both angles, and then I'll just trim that so that we don't have this kind of hanging out in the way and then getting tangled up, and then you have problems. All right. And I don't want to do too tight on the tension. I do want there to be some tension so that there's not any thread showing, but I don't want there to be so much tension that it becomes stiff like a bookmark. I want this to have a little bit of play and sway to it. And so, you know, you'll want that to have a little bit of play to it. All right, so we'll go back down through the second hole and then repeat this process. Now, if you wanted to, you could definitely stagger this out. So if you wanted to make this longer, you could make this longer and then have the middle two kind of being the longest and then graduate it down lower so that you kind of have a chevron shape here at the bottom. But I'm just going to go kind of straight across and have them all be relatively the same lengths. But, it's up to you. That's what makes us special is what you bring to the project. Like I said before, this is a new mix that we've launched on the online store. That's allegorygallery.com. And that is available online. We have these in stock. So, in case you're wondering if they're in stock or not, we do have them in stock. And all of the money we raise from these will go towards the World Central Kitchen, which helps feed people in areas of crisis, which is a pretty cool project. So maybe we will have this be staggered because I added too many. So there you go. We're going to have inadvertent staggering. What are you looking for, William?
The tape measure.
It is in the front room where we measured the chain last night.
Oh, that's right. Thank you.
You're welcome. See, I know where all my stuff is.
Sometimes.
I always know. He said sometimes if you didn't hear the snarkalicious in the back. All right. So this is all you do is you go back and forth. This is probably as exciting as watching paint dry once you get going. But the key is getting the tension right. And if you get the tension right, then, you just repeat this. It's something that you can do mindlessly. You can be watching TV and have this going. I'm not planning any particular pattern. I am making sure that I don't do just all blue and all yellow, which you could definitely do. You could plan it out if you're a planner. That's too loud, William. He's listening to music and it's too loud, and I don't want my video to disappear. William, hold on. Let me turn this music off. Alexa, stop the music. Sorry about that. I don't want my video to go away for music copyright infringement. So there you go. All right, let's see some of the comments. Terry says, do you recommend a pre-stretch even though it isn't elastic? I've heard that Fireline can hold memory from the spool. If you want to, you can. I don't really, this isn't really a structural piece, so I don't really see that as much. But if you want to, you could. Most things do have a memory, but I don't really think it matters a lot. But you know what? Some people, they do more specific designs. So maybe that helps keep that kind of keep it from having all these bows in it. But these are relatively straight. They're a little bit wonky because I haven't done the final kind of cinch on these, but there you go. But like I was saying before, you can also grid out these. So if you wanted to do half yellow and half blue, you could definitely do that like that. You can build patterns every other, alternating. You could do one yellow, one blue. So it really is up to you. Cindy said that she has to go. Thanks for tuning in, Cindy. And Cynthia says that I have a friend that makes really ornate patterns with beads. It takes forever to finish a pair. So, it's up to you as opposed to what you want, how much time you want to spend on these. I like these because these are kind of, I don't want to say they're idiot proof, but they are very easy to make. And you don't have to really focus too hard. And you can just kind of go set it and forget it. And you don't have to worry about that as much. So I like that, the easy factor. When anything is a little bit too complicated, I'm not really wild. I I I I can appreciate it, but it gets a little bit where I'm less inclined to make that project if I know that it's going to be super hard. But I think this is a very satisfying design in that it's easy. And you can, not have to worry if you mess up or something, because I've done patterns where I've spent hours and hours making stuff, and then I'll realize that one bead is off, and that one bead off drives me crazy. But these ones, they're easy enough that you don't have to worry about that as much, unless you want to. Then you can definitely 100% do it if that makes you happy. And I'm not going to shame you if you're like, I like it to be as complicated as possible. So all I'm doing is just basically stringing beads. This is an easy fringe. And then I'm just going back up through the ends of that fringe, and that's what gives that fringe. If you wanted to make this into a branch kind of coral, what you would do is you'd go up part way and then string some more and then go back through, and that's how you would make like a branch coral. Or yeah, that's a branch coral kind of design, or branches or whatever. That's how you make that if you wanted to, which you could definitely do if you wanted to. And I think is really festive. I like the way that looks. All right. Now, one of the other benefits, now you have to be careful not to get this looped around one of the other pieces of fringe, because then you'll have issues. Now, if you're working with bigger beads, because you can do this with larger beads, you can always skip holes in this kind of this 8-row connector. If you do that way, they're not all jumbled together. But what I've been doing, which is kind of a little sneaky trick here, is I've got a thinner bead in between these kind of wider beads, and it helps not get too crammed up over there. So hopefully that helps answer that little thing. All right. Another thing, one of the benefits of working with shorter fringe is that you will be able to not have to add thread, because sometimes if you make super long, super spangly earrings, then you'll have to add thread, and it's a little bit trickier to do that. All right. So sometimes it's good to have the little shorties in there because it will help make it so that you don't end up with you don't have to add thread. Adding thread isn't particularly difficult, but it is another step. And if you can avoid that step, then why not? Make your life easier. So start off with that wingspan of thread, and you won't have to do a lot of kind of, extra work. So I'm just going to pass this back up through here. And we're almost done. We just have 2 pieces of fringe left, and then we will be done. We'll tie it off and be done with these earrings and add an ear wire, which have disappeared. The ear wires were here on this table, and then they kind of disappeared. So I'm actually going to use this one. Let's see. So, what are you all working on? Are you doing any fun projects? What's captivating your creativity right now? Anything exciting and wonderful? We are busy, busy, busy. I'm going to be working on some projects for my Boulder Dash. So I forgot to, I was getting distracted. I forgot to put this back through the bottom of this link. And every once in a while, it's good to give your piece a little bit of a tug, and that's going to help with the tension. I don't know if y'all can hear it, but William's in the back pacing around, and that kind of, if you have somebody pacing around in the back behind when you're trying to work, it's a little bit nerve-wracking. He's probably going to be watching this and be like, no. But anyways, there you go. One thing also I want to mention is that since this is beading thread, you do want to be mindful of if you use bugles, don't try to use make sure you put a bead in between your bugles, because sometimes the ends of the bugles get a little bit sharp, and they can cut your thread. So I always like to cap my bugles if I use them in a design with adding a seed bead in between, and that will help make it so that your pieces don't get messed up and you do all this stringing, and then all of a sudden your bead thread gets cut, and then your earrings start falling apart. If you are worried about this being structural, you can always use a heavier fire line, and that means, like, I would say maybe a 6-pound. Normally I would probably use a 6-pound if I was doing this again, but this 4-pound works because it has a nice kind of movability to it. It has a nice kind of drapeability to these earrings. You don't want anything that's going to be too stiff. So if you get higher than the 6-pound, you might end up with kind of stiff fringe, which if that's your flavor, then go for it. You could definitely do this with head pins if you wanted to. You would just kind of put the head pin in and string them up, and then do your wrap, and then put something at the end like a dangle. That's up to you. But yeah, so let me go back. Now I'm going to show you something. You may know this already, but if you ever have an issue, instead of trying to go back through the bead through the point using the tip of the needle, use the butt of the needle. So the part where the eye of the needle is, use that to go back through if you ever make any mistakes. And the reason why is if you go back through using the tip, there's a chance that you could go in between the thread and kind of sew that into place, or you could knot it inside of there. So it's best if you go back through, and then it's less likely to have an issue like that. All right. Do we have any questions? Because I'm almost done.
5 minutes.
Well, I'm almost done, like I said. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to finish this off. Let me see. Donna says, I'm getting ready for an event next weekend. Good job, Donna. Suzanne says, just finished some earrings for a friend's birthday, only a day late. Well, that's good. Sandra says, I am hand wrapping high-end Baroque pearls now. Oh, good. Sharon says, I just had hand surgery last week, so I love what I can watch you all do and the other GBE presenters, but it will be a couple of months until I'll be so busy. Okay. Well, hopefully you can still do creative things. You just don't have to do the small stuff. So what I'm doing now is I'm just going to go back through and weave this in here, back through, up through the hole, down through the next hole, up through the hole, down through the next hole. And what this is doing is it's increasing the tension, but it's also creating it so that there isn't a if you pull or get one of these snagged, it will have multiple points of connection, whereas if you just have it from one spot and you finish it off, it's literally dangling by a thread. Now, something that you can do to make sure is you can do anchor knots on each of the threads if you want. So what that means is you would take and pass your needle down through this, and you go through and you make a slip knot. So you'd go back under your thread, and then you would go up through here. Let me try to move this so I can see it better. And then down through here. Does that make sense? You're just making a knot basically. And then you're gonna, the way you position that is you position it so that it's the base of your fringe. And then you pull tight. So that locks that in there. All right. So I'm just gonna go and work this back down to the end of the thread. If you wanted to add knots on all of your threads, you could definitely 100% do that. One thing to be mindful of is not to catch that on the little bail of your end connector, because then you'll have a little loop of thread up there, and you don't necessarily want to do that. And also, there you go. So I'm almost finished. I promise. I have to go to this meeting after. So what I'm going to do is just add that finishing knot, and then we'll be done with this pair. And then you just add an ear wire to your earring. Now, one thing also, if you start running low on thread, you don't have to necessarily go through the tip of your, you don't have to use the tip of your needle to go through your thread, if that makes sense. So you don't have to always use that. Sometimes you can use the back end of your needle to go through loops if you're running out of thread, which I am getting now. And I can use that to make knots that way. And if it does become an issue, I can always take my needle off of my thread, and that will help doing that. Okay. So in theory, I'm going to take this off my thread, and then I'm going to just position this so that the knot is close to the base of my fringe and not on the base of that yellow. Okay. Easy peasy. And then just pull it taut. I messed that one up, so I'm going to take this off. All right. So if you have issues with that, You can always splay this up so that you get a little bit of a little better angle, and then go back up through. But luckily we had long enough of an end that's not super problematic. Sometimes if you get a piece and it's like you're at the very, very end, then it can be kind of hard to do that. All right, there you go. And you can add more knots to that if you want, but you don't necessarily have to because we've added knots throughout the piece. All right, so there you go. Some little fringy earrings for y'all.
What's it look like?
This.
Nice. I like it.
Michelle said, what is the crystal beads for? I was using the crystal beads earlier for what we did, the demo in the TGBE of using that loop. So I use that in those projects. But you could definitely add the little crystals at the end if you wanted to. But we don't have that available, so never mind. Lorraine says, so pretty, thank you. Sandra says, Cynthia Thornton just got my 14K gold-filled wire in yellow and rose gold. Yippee. Donna says, beautiful. Michelle says, very cool. Cynthia said, ooh, I want to see the finished product. All right, Donna says, thank you. All right, so I'm going to jack up my stand and flip the camera. Howdy. How was that? Super easy, right? We made one of these little fringe earrings, and they're like this. I could play with this so that they're not quite as long. Terry said about pre-stretching so that the thread doesn't have that memory, and work that out. And I can see how that may help these. I don't see it too bad though. So just imagine this. I think that's pretty cute. Or if you wanted to have this as a necklace component, you could have that as a little fringy. You could live your best Stevie Nicks life doing this. All right. Hopefully you all enjoyed that. As I mentioned previously, all of those things are available on the Allegory Gallery website. That's allegorygallery.com. You can use the coupon code TGBE and save 20% off until Friday at midnight. And also, if there's ever any time that you are curious about something that we show in a video that we don't have available on the website, you can always message us at info@allegorygallery.com and say, hey, I saw you working on Fireline. I would like to support your small business by purchasing Fireline from you. And we'll say, okay, great. We will order that for you and ship that out right away. So we invoice and ship out all over the world, and it's not a big deal. Sometimes people are like, oh, it's not on the website. We can't buy it from them. Yeah, we're a full service bead store. So we have lots and lots of stuff that's in the store and also in the cottage that's not available. And sometimes people will need really random specific things that they're not able to find. And I just so happen to have it hidden in the second drawer on the left in the cupboard on the right. So if there is anything that you're looking for and you can't find it and you want to buy it, let us know and we just might have it. All right. Thank you so much. I hope you all had fun today.
Thanks, everybody.
William said, thanks, everybody. He's trying to get me to go into this meeting.
He doesn't want to do the meeting.
I do want to do the meeting, but I'm hanging out with 31 of my friends right now. So Diane says, thanks again for sharing your gift. Terry says, pretty. Have a good night. We are making William twitchy. It's true. He's pacing in the background and is super, super distracting. Pamela said, just arrived. Very cool. So catch this on the replay. Julie says, love them. Liz says, thank you. Very cute. Sharon says, thank you, Andrew. Norma says, thanks, Andrew. Marianne says, merci beaucoup. Je vous en prie. Is that right? William's the one that studied French. I took it in like high school for one semester, enough to get my credit. So I mostly know food. All right. So I'll see you all later. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much. Have a great night, the rest of the evening. And be sure to show us what you've been working on in the Allegory Gallery Design group. Because that's a fun place to hang out. I'm going to put a link to that really quick, and then I'll go. All right. Bye-bye, everyone. Talk to you all later. Bye.